My FPL Game Week 9 team selection. In today's video, we're going to have a look at my potential transfers, what I've confirmed already, what I might potentially do going into Game Week 9. We'll have a look at how my team is lining up. We've got some benching decisions. We've got some difficult decisions to make with the likes of Bukayo Saka and his injury, with the form that we've got for the Arsenal defence going up against Liverpool this week, and I have a double up. We'll talk about a few other things, a potential triple captaincy being played on Erling Haaland this week, all in my Game Week 9 team selection. What is up, everyone? FPL Harry here. Before we dive in, 2,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here. And it is Game Week 9 team selection. Of course, it is a Friday evening deadline, so do not forget that the deadline is this evening. By the time you are watching this, make sure your teams are locked in, and there will, of course, be a 2-hour deadline stream going in to Friday evening. Before we have a look at Game Week 9, a quick review of how we got on in Game Week 8. Last time I spoke to you about this in my transfer plans video was just before Chris Wood had played. I got a single return. Luckily, it wasn't a team full of blanks. I got 26 points, 16 below my safety score, a game week rank of 8.9 million, moving my overall points up to 498, moving me from 220k to 541k. It was an absolute horror show of a game week. Things went very, very wrong. The players I didn't have scored, and the players I had, apart from Chris Wood, did absolutely nothing, right? We've had Mavididi in my team. Leicester have scored 4 goals in 2 games since I brought him in, and he's had nothing. We've had Spurs and Dominic Solanke. They scored 4 at the weekend, and he did absolutely nothing in that. Of course, Trent, nothing. We had a clean sheet wipeout for Arsenal. We had a clean sheet wipeout for Rico Lewis. We have Haaland blanking against Wolves. Again, things didn't go well at all. The only return elsewhere I had was Mikalenko, and I left him on my bench away at Ipswich. Maybe I should have started him, but I did think Ipswich would score, and they did have chances to do it. Delap has been on great form as well, which is why I made that decision, and I wasn't really going to bench Gabriel against Bournemouth, Trent against Chelsea, or Lewis against Wolves to do that. So it was a horror game week. We've got to look past it. Fingers crossed this week can be a little bit better. Let's have a look at Game Week 9. So actually, I have confirmed 2 transfers already. It was the transfers I spoke about earlier on in the week. I did potentially consider waiting, doing slightly other transfers, but I did decide to downgrade Trent Alexander-Arnold to Ryan Aït-Nouri for the upcoming Wolves fixtures, and then upgrade Smith Rowe all the way up to Trent Alexander-Arnold. I do have my eyes on going back into the Liverpool defence, but it might be in the form of Konate, who's just 5.3 million. I don't mind the Fulham fixtures going forward, but we have seen a Smith Rowe benching. We've also seen some early subs, so I have moved him all the way up to Cole Palmer. Now, I've also gone with Cole Palmer over the likes of Heung-min Son and over the likes of Phil Foden as well. Both of those could still enter my team next week, or this week even, in place of Bukayo Saka if he's unlikely to start. But at the moment, I went with Cole Palmer. Now, the reason for that is I don't have luxury transfers to go forward with. I know Palmer and Saka are the 2 midfielders that I want in my team from Game Week 12 onwards. And I can't be messing around going with Son, going with Foden if I know I want to move them to Palmer later down the line, because I have other things in my team that I definitely feel like I need to sort. So I went with Palmer. As I said, Son or Foden could end up in my team come the deadline if I do decide to sell Bukayo Saka. That is the other transfer that I could use. So after that, I now have 0.1 million in the bank and 1 free transfer. I have Bukayo Saka, who's in my team at the moment and is currently yellow flagged, and I'm potentially looking to make that sideways switch to either Son of Spurs or to go with Phil Foden. Now, Saka is still a considerable doubt, but he's not ruled out. Arteta said he's not very helpful on an update. We will have a press conference from Arteta on Friday in which I expect to have absolutely no updates. We have seen from Twitter on a few accounts trying to insinuate that there is a chance that he's back for that Liverpool at home game. So that's why I haven't made the transfer yet. It will be something I might talk about. Well, I will definitely talk about it. If I make the transfer, I'll make it on my deadline stream this evening. If I was to go between them, Phil Foden is massively appealing, especially after the performance in the Champions League and the fixture that they've got this weekend. However, I just am not guaranteeing his minutes. I still think he probably starts Southampton, but I thought he'd start Wolves last weekend, and he didn't. And I don't know he starts this game because he just started in the Champions League. So for me, I'm not certain that I get 3 starts out of Phil Foden in the next 3, which is what I would need. And then I look at Heung-min Son. Son is still probably the one that I would go with, but do I go there or do I just go to someone like Brennan Johnson and take the money instead? I think I would go with Son because I know I'd want to go back to Bukayo Saka, but I could go to someone like a Brennan Johnson in the idea that I might want to go Kai Havertz over going for a Bukayo Saka later down the line, and a Brennan Johnson would help me do that with the budget it would allow me to do. So at the moment, I've confirmed those 2 transfers. We did Smith Rowe to Palmer. And then we did Trent down to 8 Nori. I left me 0.1 in the bank. Palmer has then since risen. And I know 8 Nori is predicted to rise in price tonight on Thursday evening. Again, I still have one free transfer and I could downgrade Saka to either Son or Foden if it looks like Saka is confirmed out. But if it's still a doubt, I'm not certain I'll do it anymore. So having a look at the projections going into the weekend, of course, no final decisions video. So we'll cover some of this from Rob TFPL on Twitter. Go and check him out if you want to see these for yourself. Manchester City predicted to score over 3 goals. Haaland getting on the score sheet twice during the week does open the option to a triple captaincy being played on Erling Haaland. Cole Palmer and Chelsea are actually predicted to score more goals this week than we are predicted to get for Spurs. Now, of course, I could go and buy Foden, but this is why I went with Palmer over going for Son or going for Phil Foden in that position, just because of nailed minutes. And I know that I want Palmer going from game week 12 onwards. Having a look at a few of the other things that we've got in terms of clean sheets. Manchester City massively up there. Outside of that, no real standout clean sheets. Brentford's is okay at home to Ipswich. You've got Aston Villa in there, but nothing really stands out. That Manchester City fixture is the real clear-cut banker this week at home to Southampton. So just having a look at what this means for my lineup going into this weekend. So we are going to start David Raya. I have no backup goalkeeper, so it is Fabianski on the bench. I don't really have the choice on that. I could sell David Raya, but from game week 12, the Arsenal fixtures look really good. And I do still back them defensively as the best defensive team in the league alongside Liverpool. I will potentially have a look at a Liverpool defender once their fixtures get a little bit better. They have an okay run in game weeks 10, 11, 12. But after that, it gets more difficult again. So I will probably wait a few weeks, but I am looking at Konate, but we're going to stick with David Raya. Now, I do think that there's going to be no Saliba. There's a chance there's no Calafiori, there's no Odegaard, and there might be no Bukayo Saka. So at the moment, even though I said I'd never do it again, I am currently benching Gabriel, and I'm playing all 3 of my other defenders. So as I said, 8 Nori came in. He goes away to Brighton. I then got Mikalenko at home to Fulham, and Jared Brantwaite for Everton is back. So that does boost them defensively. And then we've got Rico Lewis going up at home to Southampton. He did start midweek, so there's a slight doubt over his minutes, but I am going to start him because of how good a fixture is and how many minutes he is able to play and just how many different positions he can play for Manchester City. Now, Gabriel has an okay clean sheet odds, but I do think Liverpool score. His goal threat is probably better than some of these, but because I'm starting David Raya at the moment, he is on my bench. Now, that's not guaranteed. We might change that going into the deadline if Saka is positive, or we get a news on Calafiori, for example. But at the moment, I think Arsenal will be a little bit weaker, and I actually think Liverpool might beat them. So at the moment, Gabriel is on the bench. Of course, Greaves is out this week and might be out until the next international break. So 8 Nori, Mikalenko, and Rico Lewis are my 3 starting defenders. Moving into midfield. So at the moment, I've still got Bukayo Saka, and as I said, I've brought in Cole Palmer. Both of those are in there. Palmer is in at home to Newcastle. It's a nice fixture. Newcastle have not been fantastic so far this season. We've got Bukayo Saka at home to Liverpool. If it was away, maybe I'd be more inclined to sell him. But at the moment, I haven't made that transfer. As I spoke about, either Son or Foden, but most likely it would be Son, could come in for Saka before the deadline because I still have one free transfer and I don't need money in the bank because Saka is slightly more expensive than Son, but I still have 0.1 in case there were ridiculous price changes this evening. Outside of that, we've got Brian Mbeumo at home to Ipswich, a really nice fixture. Hopefully he can get back to goal-scoring ways after a blank in game week 8. And then I have a benching headache to make. I have Mavididi at home to Nottingham Forest and I have Semenyo away at Aston Villa. It is probably a slightly easier fixture on paper for Mavididi, although he's blanked in recent weeks and Nottingham Forest have been really, really strong defensively, as we saw again on Monday night with a clean sheet. So which of these would you start, and would you start Gabriel? Let me know in the comments which of the benching decisions you would do. Would you play Gabriel, and if so, over who? And would you play Semenyo over Mavididi? Now, part of the reason I might keep hold of Bukayo Saka is this benching decision that I'm benching Semenyo first sub anyway, that if Saka misses out, doesn't feel like the end of the world. But then I'm just holding on to a very expensive injured player. But I know in game week 12, I want Bukayo Saka. I want that triple Arsenal. So at the moment, that's part of the reason that I fancy keeping hold of Saka is just the fact that I have either Mavididi or Semenyo, one of them starting, and the other one looks like a pretty good first sub. So at the moment, it's Mavididi starting with Semenyo on the bench, but it is pretty close. Moving up front, Erling Haaland is in there. We've got Dominic Solanke. Solanke's not been great, but I am going to give him a couple more weeks because Spurs are creating a lot of chances. He's still getting good XG, although he's not as involved in the sort of box and in shots as maybe I'd want and as maybe as the likes of Son and Brennan Johnson are, but he's still their striker and surely he's going to get chances at some point. And then we've got Chris Wood, who's been an absolute saint, an absolute saviour for me so far this season. The big thing, of course, is captaincy. The captaincy armband is on Erling Haaland. The vice-captain is on Brian Mbeumo. I don't mind Brian Mbeumo as differential captain, but I have no reason to take it off Erling Haaland. It's just the conversation about a triple captaincy. He did look good midweek. He did score twice against Sparta Praha, but my only thing is he's not been good in the previous weeks before that. That's 3 blanks on the bounce. At the moment, it's not active. At the moment, I'm still not confident enough in that Manchester City team. I still don't think De Bruyne is back. I still don't think Foden is guaranteed to start. And if he doesn't guarantee a start for Foden and De Bruyne's not back, I don't love that Manchester City attack enough to go and put the triple captaincy on Erling Haaland. There will be less double game weeks this season. There'll be less chances to play it. But I'm still not certain enough that this is the week, despite the predictions that we saw that predict Manchester City to score over 3 goals this week. So that's the big decision. I've got a few things to decide between now and the deadline, so let me know in the comments. Would you start Gabriel over any of those 3 defenders, given I have David Raya? Would you start Mavididi or Semenyo? Would you sell Saka to Son? And would you triple captain on Erling Haaland? At the moment, my answers to those are bench Gabriel, bench Semenyo, don't sell Saka, and no triple captain. But let me know if you disagree with any of those 4 questions and answers in the comment section down below. There will, of course, because it's a Friday deadline, there'll be a Friday evening deadline stream, 2 hours from 4:30 p.m. UK time until the 6:30 p.m. deadline. It will be scheduled already. Click the link above or go and check it out on my channel. Click notify for a reminder when that stream goes live. We'll be having a look at any updates on the likes of Bukayo Saka, any potential late transfers going into the deadline, anything I change in my lineup going into the deadline, and of course, answering your questions for 2 hours as well. Thank you so much for watching. This will be the last video, hopefully where things look a little bit different from Sunday. I'll be back in the UK from my holiday in Portugal. I'm having a lovely time for those of you who are asking. Anyway, any questions you have about your team, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you would do with my team as well. Thank you so much for watching. 2,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here, and I'll be back again very soon.